Hi, I'm Rick Martínez, recipe developer and food editor at Food Network with a passion for my Mexican heritage. I'm going to be making for you today one of my absolute favorite tacos. I have eaten these tacos all around Mexico, Mexico City in particular, carnitas. There are a number of different ways to make carnitas, and I'm going to show you a really great way to make them at home. So the first thing I have is a white onion. I'm going to cut this in half. No need to take off the skin because I'm going to put it in a cheesecloth and make a little sash. I've got a whole head of garlic, and I'm going to cut this in half. So this is going to expose all the cloves and get a lot of that really nice garlic flavor in there. Pork and garlic go really, really well together. This is a navel orange. A lot of times, sour oranges are used in Mexico when you're stewing your pork for the carnitas. They're a little bit harder to find, and I feel like for the amount of pork that I'm gonna use, I only actually need about 1/4 of an orange. So I'm gonna go ahead and quarter this up. And now that I've got all these things cut, I'm going to make a sash. And this is actually pretty important. I've made this recipe before where I didn't put everything in a sash, and what ends up happening is you have to like fish everything out at the end when the pork is done. All right, here we go. All right, and then you just wanna put this down. Don't worry about the skin of the garlic and the onion because it's gonna be trapped in the cheesecloth. I've got some whole peppercorns. I feel like the peppercorn in this case gives almost a spiciness, like a warming spice, like a cinnamon or a clove that I really like. I also have some beautiful chile de árbol. If you can't find these, you can use dried Thai chilies. You could probably even use fresh Thai chilies or Japanese chilies. No need to take the stems off. Again, it's all gonna be trapped in there. I've got a bay leaf. This is Mexican oregano. This is probably like a cross between an oregano and a basil, maybe with a little bit of tarragon in there. It's really, really delicious. And it's used very commonly in Mexican cuisine. And then this is canela. Canela is actually Ceylon cinnamon. There are many different types of cinnamon. The two ones that are most common are Ceylon and cassia. The cassia is what is typically used in the US. It has a much thicker bark. You can see this bark is very thin. It also has a much more mild floral flavor. It's not quite as spicy as the cassia cinnamon. If you can't find the Ceylon cinnamon or the canela, just use about 1/2 stick of normal American cinnamon, the cassia. And then my orange. And now we're just going to tie this all up. Carnitas would not be carnitas without pork. And in this recipe, I'm using two of my favorite cuts. So this is boneless pork shoulder and raw pork belly. I find that these two cuts of meat together are really, really delicious and flavorful. The shoulder is one of my favorite cuts of the pork because it has a lot of fat, it has a lot of flavor. It's a little bit tougher, but it takes long and slow cooking really nicely. It falls apart. It's really, really flavorful and delicious. The reason why I'm adding the belly is because I want that pork fat to render as it cooks, so that at the very end of the cooking, we're gonna fry the carnitas in the fat. I'm going to add this to the pot. We're not gonna brown anything right now because we're gonna fry at the end. So this is a really simple recipe. Just put everything in the pot. I've got 1 cup of chicken stock. You can use box, you can use homemade. If you don't have that, you can use water. I've actually used beer before, and that's really good as well. I've got some dark brown sugar. That's gonna give us really beautiful caramel flavor. And I've got kosher salt. We're gonna add our sachet, and we're going to bring this to a boil. All right. I'm boiling now. I'm gonna reduce this to low. Make sure you set this on your lowest temp because once it's covered, you're actually gonna collect more heat in there, and this really, really needs to go gently. And I'll be back in 2 hours to check on the pork. All right, it's been about 2 hours. Let's take a look at this pork and see if he's done. Oh, look at that. You can see the pork belly is almost falling apart. It looks so good. Yeah, yep. She's done. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out the sachet. it's rendered all of its flavor. I'm gonna make sure that I get all that delicious juice out of there first. All right, you can just throw this out or compost. And now I'm gonna take the pork out of here. So I'll start with the shoulder. All right. So you wanna crank this on high and evaporate all of the liquid, and that'll also help render some of the pork fat out of the belly so that you can fry all of this delicious pork. So as this reduces, you actually want to be careful because it will start to pop as the fat renders and as the belly starts to fry and the liquid evaporates. All right. It looks so good. It's been about 15 minutes. Almost all of the liquid is evaporated. The belly's starting to fry. I'm gonna make a little bit of room for my shoulder. And the belly can stay on the edges. The edges of the pot are gonna be where it's hottest. And so the belly can crisp up on the sides. The shoulder's starting to fall apart. If it starts to fall apart, that's totally fine. Oh, look at that. Oh, yes. I feel like a good carnitas taco needs to have that textural difference. Especially the belly, you're gonna get these really crispy nuggets, kind of like a chicharron. And it's just gonna give you that extra crunch inside the taco that I love. I feel like really good tacos should have a lot of different textures, and so if you have a really soft filling and you're putting salsas on it, the raw onion and maybe even some shredded cabbage is gonna give you a little bit of texture. In this taco, I'm getting my texture from the fried pork. And as this cooks, you can kind of flake off the meat a little bit to get a little bit more browning. This is really what we're going for, this beautiful caramel color. That's a combination of the brown sugar that's caramelizing in addition to the frying. I'm gonna get my paper towel lined sheet tray, and it looks like my belly is getting pretty crispy, so I'm gonna take this out. All right. So you can see, look at that, so beautiful, caramelized. You're getting the little shreddy bits right here are gonna get a little crispy as they sit. All right. That looks so good. Actually, you can still smell all of the spices. So I'm getting the orange, I'm getting the canela, I'm getting the chile de árbol. It smells really, really good. This pot looks really dark, and one thing that you can do is save the grease because this is really, really super flavorful and delicious. This would be great in flour tortillas, it would be great for refried beans, or even just like sauteing your veg. So once you remove the grease, just let your pot soak for a little bit to help you get all of that out. All right, I'm going to now shred this meat. Now that it's all fried on the outside, look how beautifully it shreds. And each bite is gonna be really soft, but then you'll have like little crispy bits. And then all your guests are gonna want some of these little fried pieces of pork belly. You don't need to like go crazy, just get it in like taco-sized pieces. I'm gonna transfer this to a bowl, go grab all my taco accoutrement, and then I'm gonna build myself a taco. This is typically what you'd find in a taco bar in Mexico, and that's what we've got here. So I've got my assortment of homemade corn tortillas. We've got the cilantro and the onion. I have some pico de gallo. This is some pickled vegetables. We've got some charred salsa roja and the beautiful carnitas. All right, oh, I've been waiting so long for this. All right, so first thing that goes down is the carnitas. My problem is I always overstuff on the carnitas, so I'm gonna attempt to not do that. Make sure you save room for the crispy belly. Oh, it looks so good. That golden brown color and all that crispy pork fat. Oh, yum. All right, what do I want now? I'm gonna do some pickled jalapenos and the carrots. The carrots and jalapenos are so good, and you see them all over Mexico. All right, some salsa roja. All right, I'm just gonna do some onion and cilantro. The other great thing about tacos is that, you know, each one can be a little different. You can put different fillings on or different toppings for each taco, and then every bite's a little bit different. All right. One important note about eating tacos. The taco is always kept straight. You tilt your head. If you tilt the taco, all the fillings are gonna fall out. So here I go. It's so good. The warm spices of the canela and the orange and the onion and the garlic really come through. And you've got the cold, spicy salsa roja, the crunch of the onion, and that delicious pork fat. This is a really, really good taco.